Good morning, everyone. It is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, Dispatcher 101 Training for Beginners, Freight Broker 101 Training for Beginners. It is Saturday, January 4th. It's around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just wanted to drop this PSA, this public service, for those of you who are joining the Facebook Dispatcher 101 Facebook group, and those of you who are showing interest in wanting to learn how to be an independent freight dispatcher. Um, there are many trainings out there to provide that service. I happen to have one. It's called Dispatcher 101 Training for Beginners. Um, it's just a new year, 2020. For those of you who are still with us, welcome to this new decade, this new year, 2020. Happy to be alive. Hopefully, you have some resolutions that you want to apply to this year that were different than last year. But particularly this PSA, this announcement is for the members of the Facebook group Dispatcher 101 who are expressing interest, as well as those on YouTube who are expressing interest and wanting to do something different with themselves in their life, starting a business perhaps, and then in the transportation space, in the transportation industry as an independent dispatcher, freight dispatcher. Again, there are other trainings out there, and also again, I have one as well. If you can see the screen, I have my website up, exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. On this website, there is the area for Dispatcher 101 training, and we offer a host of content. There will be upgrades and improvements made. There will be guest speakers coming on and providing more input and content. The whole purpose of Dispatcher 101 Training for Beginners is to provide as much information, content, tools, and resources to those of you who are interested in being an independent freight dispatcher. Provide all these tools at your disposal, and also even provide examples via live examples or recorded examples on our training videos in the platform, so that you can apply it to your particular process, your particular business, in order to be successful. That is the point of the platform, to get you involved, to get you access to the tools and resources, to show you step by step via the live trainings, which are Wednesday evenings from 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till about 8, and Sunday mornings from about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 1. So, speaking of which, training is tomorrow, 11 a.m. May have some special guests on there, but I'm probably going to do some catching up, some review, and then going over some of the basics of dispatching as well. A lot of people have been commenting on the YouTube channel about the process of dispatching, showing interest and things like that. If you want to understand the process of either enrolling into the platform and what we do as dispatchers, tune in to the live trainings either on Wednesday evenings at 6 Eastern Standard or Sunday morning at 11 Eastern Standard. And you can get to that location from the website by putting your mouse, hovering your mouse over Dispatcher 101 and then clicking the live online dispatch training link at the top, and it takes you to another screen. On this screen here is the information that you would need, and it talks about the times. It's kind of self-explanatory. If you want to do it, either call in with the phone right here, or if you're on your computer, do the computer. So I may have to put like phone access, international phone, and then computer access, so people can click the right link if they're on their phone or tuning into the training from their computer. Next, for those who are interested in enrolling into the platform, you click the Enroll in Dispatcher 101 Training, and this screen comes up. I used to have a military discount that has since expired. I may be reinstituting that, but right now, as it stands, we just have a regular price of $3.99 and a 2-for-1 for $5.99. That's a one-time payment, and then 1 month after that date that you enrolled, there will be a $39.99 per month subscription to maintain access to all the tools and resources. Because this is an ongoing training, it's not a 1 month, 1 week, 1 year kind of thing. You use the platform to your advantage. Take advantage of all the tools and resources for as long as you need them and for as long as you are maintaining your monthly subscription. Because things come and go into the platform, we add value and we take things away that we see over time that is not benefiting the platform, and we replace those things, replace them with things that are beneficial to the platform. So. And that is up and coming this year, so there will be new features added to the platform. We are also providing Freight Broker 101, of course, and then we're also going to provide some content for those who are actually interested in wanting to start their trucking business, a trucking company. But right now, as it stands, our focus now is on the dispatching side of it, because that is financially, that is the easiest entry point into the transportation industry. I know people want to start a trucking company, but there are overhead costs involved with that. I know people who want to be brokers, but there are requirements and overhead costs with that. People who want to be independent freight dispatchers, there are some overhead costs with that as well, but it's not as expensive as the other two. Starting a trucking company, getting your authority, or starting a broker, getting your broker authority. With being an independent freight dispatcher, you just need access to a load board, maybe a laptop or a desktop, a phone, internet access, and maybe some accounting software. But the startup costs are minimal compared to trying to start a trucking company, or compared to trying to be a broker. Now, from the broker's perspective, you can start off as a freight broker agent and work under someone who has their broker authority, get that experience, build your what's called shipper base or your book of business, and then eventually branch off on your own and get your own broker authority and go from there. But that takes time. The easiest entry point, again, would be the independent freight dispatcher, where you get a carrier, truck driver, owner, operator with their own authority, with the truck and trailer, to a dispatcher agreement between you and them, saying, hey, I will dispatch, manage the truck for you, find the loads, do the carrier packet, do the rate confirmation, make sure that you get your loads on a consistent basis at some point, because that has to build up to that. When you first start as a dispatcher, you're mainly dependent on the load boards to find loads for them, and then as you establish relationships with brokers and shippers, then you will check with those same brokers and shippers with whom your carrier has moved loads for, and see if they have loads again, and then you just repeat that process. So once you enroll, you'll receive an email from Exodus Logistics giving you back office login and setup. It talks about the steps after you enroll. And one of the steps, the first step, is to come and do a back office setup, where you establish an email and password to have access from everything from chat all the way down to Dispatcher 101 Glossary. Because everything from here down, from chat all the way down to the end, requires back office access. So, and that's only available to enrolled members. Now, in the trainings, the live trainings, if you're tuning in as a member or a guest, you will see the back office a little bit, because I'm sharing my screen during the training, of course. But if you actually, when outside of training and you want to have access to tools and resources, load board, sites, logins and passwords and things like that, then of course you have to be enrolled. And I get that a lot. There's a lot of people who go to the website and they try to do a access and send an alert to the back office portal, and it's asking for site membership access. And I check, and if you're not a member, if you haven't enrolled into the Dispatcher 101 platform, then you will not have access until that happens. So this is the first step, and then the next step will be orientation. And coincidentally, let me log in here. Coincidentally, in the back office access, there is a YouTube video actually explaining the process of logging in and setting up your email and password for the back office. Okay. Next is the orientation. On the orientation, you will receive the downloads for all the ebooks and glossaries and information load board logins that's included with your one-time enrollment fee. And also too, there is an orientation video that talks about the program, the Dispatcher 101 training. There's also some other content on this page as well. And then after that, I'm going to enhance business setup. And then we have the modules. There's 4 overall modules in dispatching that in my experience. The first module is, before you can dispatch for anyone, you have to get a carrier to agree with you for you to be their dispatcher, to find loads for them. So part of that is, well, what are the techniques in doing that? Well, there's a YouTube video in that particular section under Module 1, Carrier Acquisition. There's content, there's quizzes about it, workflow of dispatching, and there's extra other content that talks about what equipment types that we focus on when you first start off as a beginner dispatcher. What equipment types should you go after to make it easier for you as you begin learning how to be a independent freight dispatcher? What are the easiest equipment types? And in my experience, I've discovered that there are 3 main ones that we focus on when we are training new and beginner level dispatchers. Those are the dry vans, which are 53-foot dry vans, and I give a screenshot or a picture of what that looks like. And there are 53-foot refrigerated trailers, or what we call reefers, and then there are the 48 or 53-foot flatbeds, and this is a screenshot of what they look like. So now that you understand those 3, so now what are the methods to do that? So we have, the number 1 method is you physically can go to, if there is one in your location where you live, truck stops. You can go to there, pass out your business cards or flyers explaining who you are, what service you provide as a dispatcher. Of course, I have an underline here. You want to first get the permission from the management prior to posting any information on their bulletin boards if they have them inside of the Flying J's or Loves or Pilots and stuff like that. So next will be cold calling, and there are resources to cold call. We have there's a load board called Trucker's Path. We also use what's called DAT directory. I need to put that on here, updated. And then in the cold calling process, we also have a vetting tool that we use, which is the FMCSA Safer Company Snapshot website. The purpose of this is to look up the potential carrier that you are trying to get under a dispatch agreement's DOT, MC number, or the name of their company, to make sure that they are not attached to or associated with a brokerage. Because as you learn in the process, when you're dispatching for the carriers, you're going to be calling brokers mainly, some shippers, but mainly brokers starting out. So if you are under an agreement with a carrier owner operator who's leased on or part of an asset with a brokerage, then that would be double brokering. That's a no-no. And then we have word of mouth and text scripts, and I give examples of text scripts, email scripts, and so on. So what is the dispatcher agreement and profile? Well, the purpose of the dispatcher agreement is like a contract between you, or an agreement between you, the dispatcher, and the owner operator, the carrier, the truck driver, saying that I, the dispatcher, will provide this service of finding loads for you, getting a good rate for that load, booking that load for you, doing all the administrative and paperwork side of it while you focus on driving. You drive, get the load safely from origin to destination. I handle the back office, back end stuff, and I do this service for a percentage. Roughly nowadays is anywhere between 5 to 10% for a dispatching fee for that service. So that is the dispatcher agreement, and we go over the verbiage in the dispatcher agreement in the trainings. I'm just letting you know high level now that that's what you would need to initially get started with your carrier. Get under a dispatcher agreement with them and go from there. Now the profile sheet is now this is what you send the carrier to have them fill out. and return it back to you. You also send the profile sheet to the carrier, have them send it to you as well. The profile sheet is the carrier's way of telling you how they want you to dispatch. In other words, if I'm a carrier and you sent me a dispatcher agreement or a profile sheet, I'll tell you, and let's say I have a dry van, a 53-foot dry van. I will say, okay, I want at least $2 a mile. I don't want to haul no more or no less or no more than 40,000 pounds. I only want to go to certain areas. I don't want to go to the New York area because of the tolls. I don't like the mountains. I want to stay anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere west of the Rockies. And then I want to stay mainly on flat land. I try to be home weekends. So they're giving you a step-by-step description of how they want to run. So when you go look for loads for them on the load boards and with shippers, you cater your search according to the profile sheet. And that's the whole purpose of the profile sheet, is giving you a more specific indicator so that you can search more specifically for your carrier because you have their profile now. And then we go over some other documents that are common when booking loads. Every time you call a broker shipper, a broker and or shipper, these are some of the common documents that are always needed in order to process and get loads booked. The carrier's W-9, which shows that they have a federal EIN number, federal ID, that they are in business. The carrier's MC authority letter that was issued to them by the FMCSA and DOT. FMCSA is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and of course DOT is the Department of Transportation. And I give samples of what they look like, and we actually go over that, so we break it down and give you a better understanding. Because the MC authority, there's different types of MC authorities, so you have to understand what those are briefly, not as much. As long as your carrier has a particular type of MC authority that can run all over the country, which is a common carrier authority, then you'll be fine. Certificate of insurance. Your carrier needs that to show the broker and shipper that they are insured to haul freight up to a certain amount. With cargo, it's 100,000. With liability, it's $1 million. And then some of them have physical damage insurance, workers' comp, things like that. And then if your carrier, and this is an optional form, the last one, an NOA, notice of assignment. If your carrier has what's called a factoring company, in other words, if they're once they deliver and their BOL is sent to the factoring company, they get paid ahead of time. So the BOL is the bill of lading, the proof of receipt or the proof of delivery that your carrier receives from the receiver once they are finished with a load and deliver that load. That BOL is their invoice for either the broker or their factoring company. So whether they have a factoring company or not, this NOA form serves as a notice for the broker to fill out and return back to the carrier's factoring company so they can check the broker out to make sure that the broker pays on time and that there are no red flags. So it's trying to make the whole process a little bit more streamlined and effective and efficient. So this is all under carrier acquisition. That's module 1. So you first have to get a carrier to agree to you, and then you get all your documents that you need from the carrier returned, and then you can effectively manage or dispatch the loads for them. The next module is, well, how are you going to do that? Well, you need to go to the load board. So once you get the profile back, you go to the load board and you start looking for loads according to the profile. So we have different loads. We have videos about the load boards, load board trainings. We have the different load boards. So we click the different load boards. We have DAT 1, 2, 3. Truckers Path, and these are some of the better load boards. Next Loads, A1, Free Freight, DOF. So there's about 6 or 7 load boards that we have in our training, and we go into details of how to effectively navigate the load boards, search for the loads that's according to the profile of your carrier, and then give that broker a call and start that process. So module 3 is actually booking the load. So I've actually, in a live training, booked a load with a broker on a live training so you guys can see and get that experience. So it's what better way to train and to actually show you how, what it is that you yourself will actually be doing. So in booking a load, we have YouTube videos that talks about it, and we have content that talks about booking a load. What's involved? What's the dialogue that happens when you, as the dispatcher, call the shipper or the broker inquiring about a specific load that you just recently viewed on a particular load board, and you're showing you and your carrier with whom you have a dispatcher agreement with are showing interest in this load and you're trying to book that load. So what is that dialogue? What are you saying? What are some of the things? We give scripts and examples of what's that said. We actually do mock calls. We do live calls. Actually calling live brokers. We'll look at a live load board. We'll make up a particular equipment type and then look up a load according to that equipment type, but call a live broker just to hear the dialogue between myself as playing the role of a dispatcher and the real broker, just to see what they say, and then so you can have a better and a clearer understanding of that process. Okay, and here is some of the scripts that said, and this is just an example, and you just fill in the blanks with your company information. This is just a template to follow. So in the process of doing that, booking the load, you're going to go through filling out what's called a carrier packet or a broker carrier agreement. And the purpose of that is to get the carrier set up with that particular brokerage at that time to book that load and other loads going forward. The carrier packets only needs to be filled out with a particular brokerage one time. After that, everything else is just receiving a rate confirmation because you're already set up with that brokerage. So in addition to filling out the carrier packet, remember those other documents we were talking about, the W-9, the MC Authority, and the Certificate of Insurance are included to send back to the broker along with the carrier packet. And I go over here again, other documents needed to book loads. I cover that here as well. So it's kind of a repeat, but it is a needed repeat because it is a common thing that's done when you book loads. You're going to always need that. So it's good to kind of embed that process for you. And then rate confirmations or rate cons is what makes the load officially booked. So the carrier packet gets the carrier set up with the brokerage, but when the rate confirmation is sent, so in other words, when the carrier packet is filled out and the other documents are sent to the broker or shipper, they process that information, get back with you after they went over that with their compliance team and say, okay, your carrier is set up with us. Now let us send you our rate confirmation for this specific load that you are calling about now. They'll email that to you, and then you'll go over that with your carrier to make sure the numbers are right. And if they are, then your carrier either sign, or according to the dispatch agreement, if your carrier has given you permission to sign up and fill out things on their behalf, then you will sign for your carrier, send that rate confirmation back to the broker. It just makes the process quicker when you're doing the administrative part as opposed to sending it to your carrier, waiting for them to have an opportunity to get somewhere, fill it out, send it back. It just takes up a lot of time, and you run the risk of losing the load because it takes longer when your carrier has to do everything. And if that's the case, then what's the point of having a dispatcher if you can't do it more effectively and a little bit faster for your carrier? And again, your carrier can focus on driving and you focus on dispatching. So in any case, the rate confirmation is looked at, the numbers are good, you sign it, send it back to the broker, the load is officially booked, and then that process is complete. And here's an example of what a rate confirmation looks like. And we'll go over the particulars in more detail in the trainings and as you guys ask questions for those who are expressing interest in joining the Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. This is a foundational platform. It gives you the basics of dispatching. I've had students who've gone on and actually gotten more successful than I have, which is the goal. I mean, I'm not here to be the most successful. I'm here to help people learn how to be successful. So that is the third module. The fourth module is what's called invoicing. Invoicing the carrier. So when your carrier picks up a load from the shipper and delivers it to the receiver, the load is checked and make sure that the pallet count is good, there's no damaged freight. So assuming that everything checked out, they will receive a receipt, or what's called a BOL, a bill of lading, or which is called a POD, a proof of delivery. This is the carrier's invoice to get paid under, either through the broker or through their factoring company. So once that happens, then you, as the dispatcher, will are now going to invoice your carrier for your percentage, let's say 10% of the gross amount of the load. So let's say the load they picked up was $3,000. Nice round number. And your dispatching fee was 10%. So 10% of 3,000 is 300. So that's what you will invoice, either through Square, PayPal, however you invoice your carrier, and then your carrier will pay you. Now, have there been cases where carriers have not paid? Of course there has. And there have been more cases of carriers paying than there have of not paying. And there are ways of dealing with that, either quickly or a little bit more steadily. Either not dealing with that carrier anymore, or small claims, court, or what have you. But I could not see a carrier not wanting to pay you if you're maintaining loads for them. So if you're finding me $3,000 loads twice a week, that's $6,000 that you're bringing to me. As a carrier, I wouldn't have a problem giving you $300 for each of those loads, or a total of $600 a week for you, and $6,000, $5,400 for me a week as a carrier. That's just my mentality on that. So invoicing the carrier, and then in addition, we have the forms and documents that you need to, and it's kind of a repeat of the other forms and documents. Of course, it's the dispatcher agreement, the profile, load details cheat sheet. This involves when you are looking at a load board and some of the data that the broker may have posted on the load board is not available. So here are some of the questions that you will ask to fill in those blanks. This is kind of a cheat sheet, and the purpose of it is to get as much details about the load, because the more details your carrier has about a load, the more informed they are whether they can take that load or not. You may miss something and they get to a location, and your carrier may need an equipment part that for that load. Maybe if he's flatbed, he may not have chains and binders or straps, but the load details cheat sheet, you ask that question to the broker, which they didn't list in the load when they originally posted it, but it said that they needed it. So you get that information. Now you tell your carrier, he may be able to pick some up, or if you didn't tell him, then he gets to the location and he's ill-equipped to take that load. So now he's looking for another load. So it's good to have as much information for your carrier about a load as possible, so they can make an informed decision as to whether to take the load. The main details of a load that you need, of course, is the date, times that it's picking up and delivering, because you may have a carrier who is under a load right now going to deliver, and the new load that you may have found for that carrier may overlap the time that it needs to pick up from the time that your carrier is delivering the load that they're currently under. There may be an overlap. So you might want to make sure that that does not happen. So other forms and documents, new brokers who work with new MC carriers. What this means is there's the newer owner operators with their just recently got their MC authority within 6 months or a year or less. They have a hard time finding loads with brokers, because most brokers don't want to deal with newer MC authority owner operators. But there are some that will. And this PDF shows a list of those, so you can go after them and call them and try to get your carrier. Once you do 2 or 3 and they run good loads, now they're starting to get a little time under their belt, and then they can open up to all the other brokers. But it's getting them started. So having that information is kind of helpful as well. 3 equipment type carrier profile templates, what a carrier packet looks like, what a rate-con looks like, and again, we go over the other documents. And then, of course, we got other tools and resources, our training videos. Here we have dispatcher manual, the CFR Title 49, owner-operator best practices, DAT trend lines, and the hot marker. So there's a lot of content back here. Here's our training videos, our Dispatcher 101 ebook explained, and our Dispatcher 101 glossary. This is just self-explanatory. You can go in there and read it. The training videos I want to talk about a little bit here. I started this in 2018 of November, so the training videos start off when I put them on the website, they are in the month of November 1st, but they are ordered in according to the date in that month. So November's 2019. So the order, if you notice the dates, and it's from most recent to least recent. So you go to the next month, December 2019, and it's going down. So the most recent one is the first one in that month recently. January, February, and so on and so forth. So this is Dispatching 101 training for beginners. This was a public service announcement. I'm sorry it took as long as it did, but I just wanted to give an overview, especially to those members of the Facebook group Dispatching 101 who are expressing interest in joining or wanting to enroll into the actual platform. Also, too, we have on the website, it does have the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. You can click the YouTube channel, Dispatching 101 Training for Beginners, and subscribe. I would appreciate that. And if you, of course, if you want to enroll, you can enroll from here. The Facebook group, you join there. And that's it. So if you are expressing interest and you want to learn how to be a independent freight dispatcher from a very beginner's perspective, step by step, slow pace for as long as you like on the platform, consider this one, Dispatcher 101 Training for Beginners, through the Exodus Dispatching and Trainings website. There are other trainings. I'm not saying mine is the only one. I just look at myself as an option, and I try to teach according to what I know and learned over time. So looking forward to those enrolling. It is a new year, 2020. New things are coming up. New strategies are coming up. Just looking forward to hearing from everyone. Hope you guys are having a new year so far. Thank you for your time. I see you guys in training tomorrow, which is January 5th, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll do some review, go over last year's the processes and what happened last year and what you guys are expecting for your dispatching companies moving forward into this new year. What goals and expectations do you have? Did you meet your goals from last year? What are you going to do different if you haven't to meet your goals for the coming year? So I look forward to hearing from you then. Hopefully I see you guys in the training tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, January 5th, 2020. Thank you.